Hiya friends and welcome. So this is going to be your shorter version of the chest opening that we're going to be doing in class today. So I'd love for you to have 2 blocks if you have them, 2 bricks. If not, you can get away without them. It just kind of gives a little extra opening when we're on our bellies in a little bit. And if you can find yourself a strap, a bathrobe tie, a piece of rope, right, nothing too harsh on the hands, that you can work with, grab that as well. So if you need to pause and grab that stuff, do, and come on back. And when you're ready, we will begin. We're going to start right in with it, right? So stand up nice and tall. So it's going to go a little bit into the shoulders, right? But we're moving the line to open the chest in the front, the chest in the front of the shoulders, right? So go ahead. I'm going to see how many times I can say right this morning. I am tired this week. It was a rough week with my kitty and all. So I'm a little wider than shoulder distance. I'm standing up nice and tall, crown of the head reaching up, and I'm going to inhale and start to raise the arms overhead. Now, if I have a shoulder that's sensitive, I can leave that arm down and work from this place, right? Right here, I want you to soften your shoulders down away from the ears. If you have shoulder issues, you might not do this part. Exhale, go ahead and come on back. I think you would still be able to do many other things in class, maybe just not this move, right? And bring it behind you if you can, or go to the point of the resistance and bring it right back over. Release one side from behind you, bring it back around front, and we're gonna do that again. So nice and tall, try not to let your head bob forward. This time try to concentrate on keeping the shoulders down and the arms straight as you can. If you need a little bend, you take it, right? I'm not in your body, these are just suggestions. Bring it around, coming forward. This time I get my shoulders down, I try to keep my arms straight, and I try not to let one shoulder lift up to the ear or move back first. I try to symmetrize, is that a word? My shoulders as much as I can. I don't know, but it should be. It's a great word. Symmetrize, I think, right? And then this time, don't let your ribs puff out. So my head doesn't bob forward, my shoulders stay down, my arms stay pretty straight. I'm gonna try to let my shoulders move back in symmetry, and I'm not gonna let my low ribs push forward in my body. And then go ahead and put that strap over your right shoulder. Sorry if I hit my microphone on this one. And then I'm going to turn so that you can see my back body, right? You bring your arms out. This is from last week's work. Turn the right palm up, turn the left palm down, and just keep going with the rotation as far as you can. You're going to bring the arms right into Gomukhasana. And as you do, you're going to see if you can let that right elbow come down a little with the elbow, bring it into the face, and then slide it up and grab onto the strap, yeah? That left arm, see if you can slide that left shoulder blade down the back without the elbow moving back. And then pull that strap, right, apart, like you could rip it in half. Maybe not, don't go like crazy Hulk on me, but you know, try to put a little bit of effort into it just so you feel the muscles of the shoulders, the upper arms, right, those different muscles turn on to support you. And I think by now you all know that I'm a believer in when we stretch to also tone the muscles as we stretch. I think it's a healthier way to get in. And then go ahead and release that. You're gonna put the strap over the left shoulder. You're gonna bring your arms out, turn your left palm up, and turn your right palm down and back, and just keep rotating as much as you can. And once your arm rotation is there, come back and grab onto the strap. Again, let that left elbow come down a little bit for a second. You'll get there. Move it into the face and then slide it up. You might slide your hand down. Try to slide your right shoulder blade down the back, like that bottom inner tip could come down and in towards the spine. And breathe from that place. Notice the tendency of the head to want to push forward, the ribs to want to pop out, whatever your tendencies are, right? Take a breath. We all have different ones for sure. Both of those I have right now. And go ahead and release that. You can put the strap off to the side and just go ahead and take a couple of shoulder blade rolls. So instead of just thinking about the shoulders, be wiser. Let it be those scapula. There's nothing wrong with moving the shoulders, right? But we know our body a little better than that at this point in time. We have a more intimate relationship. Go ahead and move the other way and just try to get that full range of motion, whatever your range of motion is. We all have different ones, right? And then go ahead and we're gonna step into a downward dog. So you can start at the back of your mat for this one today. And you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna inhale, reach the arms out and up. I do have a fancy way to get into it, evidently. Exhale, folding in. Hands on the shins, reach the chest forward, and then go ahead and start to walk your hands forward on your mat, yeah? And lift your feet up a little bit for the first little bit with the knees a little bent. Let's look for that upper body. We're going to actually grab the edges of our mat today. So grab onto your mat, and then you're going to push your mat forward, 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 so that those hips move up and back. My rib flares, cautious of the solar plexus, tone the solar plexus area. And then some of us will reach our heels down, but some of us are not going to do that today. Just depends. Go ahead and rotate your outer upper arms into your face and breathe. And bring those knees down, wide, big toes touch. Take a child's pose, preferably with your arms out in front of you if you can. They can be forearms soft on the ground, but have the arms out in front of you instead of by your side, just to start to say hi to the shoulder girdle, right? Come up to hands and knees. So for this one, you're going to move back on your mat a little bit if you need to, because our hands are going to be out in front of us. We're going to walk out to a half downward dog, and then pause right there. Push the palms down, forearms lift, outer upper arms rotate into the face. Hopefully that stuff is familiar, right? I talk about that quite a bit. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to see if you can bring your elbows down to the ground and walk your elbows as close to your head as you can. Interlace your hands, and then push your hands down and your forearms down, and see if you can't push your hips a little further back. Right? And as you do that, you're probably going to feel a length coming through maybe the latissimus dorsi area, maybe the armpit area, your upper arm area. Keep those ribs toned up. That solar plexus has toning in it right now to protect the mid-thoracic, low back area. Take another breath. And then go ahead and you can walk your hands apart, walk them back. We're going to come down through a half push-up. So have the hands a few inches in front of your shoulders, and then slide your shoulders forward so they're over the wrists. So I have my knees now behind my hips. I'm in about a half plank kind of a situation. Shoulder blades, slide them a little down and a little together, right? Little elevation, a little depression, a little retraction. That was last week's work. And then we're going to let those elbows bend straight back behind us. Now, if you need to leave the buttocks high and come down with your chest and then your chin first, you can. But otherwise, go ahead and come on down to your belly, right? Now you're going to bring your arms out to the side, but this is the block land. If you have blocks, I would love your blocks to be on the medium height, and I'd love you to put your hands on top of those blocks, right? Press the feet down. It's think low cobra for the rest of the body. The feet push down, the thighs lift up, the tailbone moves down, the solar plexus tones in, right? All of our usual suspects. And then push down in the hands, right? The hands into the bricks, and see if you can't lift your upper body up into low cobra. It's the same position. I simply have my arms in a different variation, right? So as I push down into my blocks pretty mightily with my palms, again, it's not Hulk, right? But it is definitely still active. And I'm going to see if I can hug the shoulder blades, not necessarily together to the spine, but to my rib cage, right? So I'm hugging my scapula to the back of my rib basket. I'm reaching the crown of the head forward. I'm reaching my big toes back. I'm toning my solar plexus in and breathing. Inhale. And then go ahead and you're going to bring your arms in front of you today if you can into crocodile. You can stack the hands. That's the gentlest version of crocodile. If it's okay to cross your forearms and have your hands more by your elbows, do that version. Don't have the arms too far ahead of you. Bring your forehead down. And then as you have that little lift of the shoulders, they're going to kind of move up to the sky or get stuck maybe almost, I could say. And then let your chest melt down, right, towards the ground, out of that. So it's almost like you would get a concavity in your upper back here. If rain were falling, it might collect in the upper back. Not quite, but hopefully that helps you think of what I'm thinking about. Now, come up just a little bit. I want you to notice what forearm is on top, so you do the other one the next time. And one more time, you're going to come out to those blocks. They are teed out at shoulder height. You can look and make sure that's happening. Sometimes we think it is, but our proprioceptive sense is tricky. Push the feet down, thighs lift, right? Inner grind, some of us. Tailbone down. I could say pubic bone up to the crown of the head. I could say knit your belly fibers to the midline. I could say knit your ribs to the midline, right? These are all the things we've been working since the beginning of the year. Elongate. I'm pushing down into my hands, so I feel a lot of energy coming into my upper arms and my scapula, and I'm breathing. Now, try to keep that energy that you just created, right? That downward motion. And don't actually lift the hands off the blocks. I want the hands to stay on the blocks, but now I want you to push up into an imaginary ceiling above your hands. But try to keep all of that other stuff that we already turned on. So I'm trying to still push down, right? It's tricky because you're doing two things at once. But now I'm lifting the backs of my hands up into the ceiling, an imaginary ceiling that's on top of them. You can imagine me putting my hand on them and pushing down. Take another breath. And then either the other palm or the other forearm on top. Again, I don't have my elbows too far forward. It's not just that they're forward and I'm dropping my head down. I'm putting my head on my forearms. And if I have my hands, my forearms a little closer to my body, my humerus bone kind of gets stuck in that position, shoulder blades a little bit up towards the sky, and then the chest gets to melt down towards the ground. So it gives a little chance for that chest melt. Take another breath. Bring your hands next to your low-floating ribs. And go ahead and curl the toes under. Tone the belly and the solar plexus. Elbows in. Push into the ground and come through your half push-up. And go into downward dog one more time from here. And, take your time and kind of settle in. And just notice if that upper back / chest / up, shoulders / upper arms. We've really been working in that area. So has anything shifted since that first downward dog that you did? Breathe. And then go ahead and inhale. On your exhale, come up on your tippy toes. Look forward. Go ahead. Actually, you know what? I'm a liar. We're going to do something. Inhale the right leg up into the air. We're going to go into our lunges from here. Step the right foot forward between the hands. Now, you can bring the left knee down if you would like to. I'm going to leave it lifted, but remember, it can be on the floor. Get nice and long. You can use blocks here to find the spine. I can't. If my fingertips are on the ground, I don't have my elongated spine, so I use blocks because I'm a short-armed girl, right? And then inhale the arms forward. We've been going into this jackknife position. Bend the left knee to come on up. Keep the left knee a little bent so you don't have to think about the pelvis and the low back, right? We want to keep that area nice and neutral, and it's about this today. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move into goal post. We used a little bit of this last week. You're going to see if you can keep your ribs in, but move your elbows further back. Now, keep that upper back bend. Maybe you think about that neck extending, right? And then from there, go ahead and reach the arms back up. Maybe palms push together. Fingertips slide up, and you reach the chest up towards the hands. Maybe look up. Exhale, hands down. Stepping back, downward dog. Inhale the left leg up into the air behind you. Step that foot forward between the hands. Elongate the spine. Find the abdomen particularly. That was 2 weeks ago, right? Inhale and come on up. Again, just keep that knee bent and stay out of the low back for this one today. Go ahead and bring those elbows down. Don't let those ribs flare, but move the elbows back. Find that extension. And then inhale. Maybe you reach up. Maybe the palms push together. Reaching up. Fingers lift up. Chest reaches up to the fingers. And the gaze shifts up. Exhale, hands down. She says as she almost falls. And breathe. Inhale. And exhale. We're going to do one more in that vein. Inhale the right leg up into the air behind you. Float it forward between the hands. Knee can come down. Elongate the spine. Inhale, jackknife. And then bring it up into your lunge. Now this one, I'm going to go into Cactus Arms. You're going to bring your hands together, interlace them behind the head. So the first part, I want you to push the head back into the hands, right? The hands don't move, they're like a wall. I want you to imagine there's a wall behind your elbows. Push your elbows into the wall and keep those ribs in. Now, bring the elbows into each other, and then the hands, they're almost going to pick the skull up off of the spine. So I want you to pull the skull a little up, a little back. The elbows reach up, 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 just like we did on the ground when we were on hands and knees and we did that chest opener. It's very similar, right? Now push your hands up like there was a ceiling above them, your forearms into that imaginary ceiling. And now go ahead and extend the arms, push the palms together. It's another way to get into what we just did moments ago. Bring the hands down, just a different way that you might find a thing or two. Step back and breathe. Inhale the left leg into the air behind you. Bring it forward between the hands. Elongate the spine. Jackknife for a moment. Bend the right knee to come on up. Woo! Go into goalpost arms. Don't let those ribs flare. Elbows back. This time interlace other index finger if it makes sense. Right? So first I push my head back into my hands, and my hands are a wall. They don't let it move. Imagine a wall behind your elbows. Push your elbows into that imaginary wall and feel the chest expand. Now, keep the pressure of the head into the hands as you move the elbows in to shoulder distance at least, please. And then see if your elbows can reach up to the sky, and your hands, they're going to gently pull traction, your head up off of your skull and a little bit back. And again, if it helps you to think of when we were on hands and knees, it's a very similar position. I'm going to imagine a ceiling above my forearms and my pinky fingers. I'm going to push into that ceiling with my arms. And then I'm going to maybe extend my arms up, push my palms together. My head is already in position. That's the beauty of that variation, right? You have that extension in the neck, and hopefully the neck feels really great here. Bring the hands down. Step back, downward facing dog. And come down, child's pose. Pause. I'm going to make fists and have my forehead higher. Remember, you can bring your forehead to the ground or bring the floor up to the forehead, whatever feels good. So this is going to be our big one here, and then we'll have a little cool down together. So you can come up onto your knees and kneel, or you can sit back on your heels, or remember, you can always grab a block if you want to sit for a moment. I'd like you to watch this before you do it, and even though you're not at home and I can't see you, please just watch it for a second, right? And then you know the variation. A, you see it in my body. B, because when you're in it, it's hard to see what someone else is doing. Camel's pose is our big gun today, right? So I can leave that block there for now, and I'm actually going to encourage you to. It's between my ankles. And although it's not a leg day, this way we don't have to think a lot about the legs, we're going to push into that block. If you have one, if not, imagine it, right? My knees are hip distance, my ankles are about hip distance. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to work with the variation that we already threw out there today. So I'm going to bring my arms up, right? Oh, let's come this way. Inhale. We're going to exhale into goalpost. We're going to bring our hands behind us, and now push your head back into your hands. Right? Push your elbows back into the wall, but don't let those ribs flare. That's my biggest thing my body wants to do. And then I'm going to keep pushing my head back into my hands as I bring my elbows into shoulder distance. Now, pull with your hands like you're going to pull your skull up and back off of your neck. Reach the elbows up to the ceiling and push, push, push into your forearms and your pinky fingers. Right? And then we'll come back down and we'll add on. So come on up. I kind of said sit and watch, and then I talked like you were doing it. I'm sorry, my brain's a little slow. Move into the block, right? Bring the arms up. Move into goalpost. Keep those ribs in, but elbows back. Interlace the hands. Now push your head back into the wall, hand wall, and push your elbows back into the imaginary wall, right? Now bring your elbows in. Keep pushing the head into the hands, but now pull the skull off of the neck. Move the elbows up to the sky without the ribs flaring. Try to find the shoulder blades move down and together. Take an inhale and exhale, come back down. So that's version 1. So then version 2, we're going to go into it the same way. And once we get to this place, then we're going to bring our hands back and either put them in our back pockets, right? Or if you want to get ready to start to move down towards the heels, you can. I'm going to talk about back pockets today, right? And what we're trying to set up is we're trying to set up that beautiful upper back and shoulder land so that when we get to this point, right, we don't suddenly lose that and do some kind of funky, usually the hips move back and all kinds of things. The hands are going to help the hips stay forward, and I think of it as rolling over a high bar. Right? So it's not that my ribs flare to make that happen. They stay in. My solar plexus is toned. And I try to open my upper back. Ready? Move into that block today. Right? Inhale the arms out and up. Exhale, goalpost. Move the elbows back, interlace the hands behind. Push the head into the hands, push the elbows into their imaginary wall, and take a second here to find that openness of the front body, right? That's what that supplies us. Now go ahead and bring the elbows in and pull the skull up off of the neck, the cervical spine. Move the elbows up to the sky, keep the solar plexus in. And then see if you can't push your forearms and your elbows up into an imaginary wall above you. Try to keep that. Extend the arms and bring them down and back, bringing your hands into your back pockets. You can stay where we just were if you'd prefer. Now, you're going to use the hands to keep the hips where they are. Don't let the hips move back. Move the elbows back together like they're magnetized. Keep the solar plexus toned and reach the chest up a little further. It's not that the head drops back, right? It's that because my chest is reaching up and the cervical spine is connected to that upper back, the neck moves with it, right? And I can talk freely. If you ever want to know if you're in a place that's okay for your neck, if you go, Om, and you can Om, you should be good, right? Go ahead and bring that down. Sit down on your block and pause. We'll go into a forward fold for cool down in just a moment, I promise. I think I'm speaking very fast today. I didn't have caffeine, but hopefully you're along on the journey. These shorter versions are hard because we only have about 20 minutes to try to get really big motions in the body that normally I don't even like to start in class until we're at least a half an hour in, right? So just putting that out there. If your body's like, whew, maybe don't do the shorter versions or do the more mellow, shorter versions. Okay, come off of that block. Knees a little bit wide. First, just come down into a regular old child's pose, and if the arms can be out in front of you again, take that and just take a breath into the whole body. If the low back is sensitive, well, that is giving you information that you're either not ready to go as deep as you went, or that, and that might be because your muscles cannot yet support you, or you weren't turning them on, maybe, right? Now come up a little bit. You can do that one again, or you can have your arms by your side. But if it's okay, bring your hands up into your hip crease with your palms turned up. My pinky fingers come in the hip crease. I fold over my body. I like my knees to come in for this version. And then I go ahead and I bring my forehead down on the ground, and I let my elbows drop down to the ground. The objective is not to touch them, but you can tell with this arm variation, I get an upper back rounding. So we're just countering all of that opening, that chest opening we've been doing through class. Take another breath, whatever arm variation. And of course, the in-between, that's not quite as extreme as the arms by the side with the palms up. I'm showing that variation right now. And let the hands come out. Everybody put your hands by your knees-ish. Push the body up. Come onto your buttocks. Forward fold. Again, the forward folds are going to be more about the rounding of the spine than what's happening in the hips and the legs. Bound angle, feel free to sit on height, and start with that long spine as you fold in, right? But then I want you to soften it strategically. Start at your S1, L5, soften the L5, the L4, the L3, the L2, the L1, the T12, the T11, the T10, the T9, the T8, the T7, the T6, the T5, the T4, the T3, the T2, the T1, the C7, now we're by the neck, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2, C1 is about between your ears. Breathe. When I say that all the way out, the thing I like about it is it makes you realize you don't have to just like thunk into it and be in it in a second. You can keep unwinding. Inhale and reach that chest forward and up. You can do that one again if you prefer, or let's say hi to the hamstrings briefly, right? Tight hamstrings cause a lot of issues in the upper back. Upper back causes issues in the chest, all kinds of other places too. You can sit on something or bend the knees, get nice and tall. Legs don't have to be all the way on today. And then again, as you fold forward, keep the spine long initially. And then I'm going to do it again. Try to take your time with me. L5, L4, L3, L2, L1 thoracic, 12, T11, T10, T9, T8, T7, T6, T5, T4, 3T, T2, T1, C7 cervical, C6, C5, C4, C3, C2, C1, about between your ears. Breathe. Inhale and come on up. Feet on the ground. Go ahead and lie down on your back. You can use that core line as you come down, if that's okay. Walk the feet wide and lean the knees in. Pause here for just a moment. Constructive rest pose. You can stay here, or you can cross your right arm over your left and give yourself a hug. I'm going to suggest, instead of going into eagle, everyone wants to do eagle because it's like, got to get that deep stretch. We already did some stretching, right? So instead of worrying about that part, just soften down in and just let that area kind of have a nice, subtle stretch, we'll call it. Just trust that it's stretching and getting what it needs without you going into a, quote, deeper position. Uncross, left arm on top, closer to the face, I could say. And again, just pause and let everything soften. And without being muscular, it's just a different way to work the muscles, that's all. Bring the arms back down to that 45. And now if you want to extend the legs all the way out to straight, feel free to extend the legs all the way out to straight. You can leave them where we just were for a couple of moments. And you know, when we do this practice at home, we're tempted sometimes to skip Shavasana because we got that list of things to do, but I do believe, my lineage and most lineages believe that this is the most important pose, and I have to agree. Not always easy, but I do think it's very important. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Let the first move be without lifting the weight of the head. Rock your head to the right and then back to center and to the left. And you might do that again, just letting that neck have really gentle, subtle movement. Coming back to center. If you want to stretch your arms or anything, please do so. And then when you're ready, you'll roll to a side. You'll push that floor away. Come on up to an upright posture. Bring those hands together in front of the chest when you get there. Inhale. Exhale, bow the head into the heart and just take a moment of gratitude. Give yourself the space and the time. That in itself is quite an accomplishment. And this came into my head this morning, so I'm going to throw it out there in case it speaks to any of you. John O'Donohue's quote is, "Be excessively gentle with yourself." Namaste. Be well, friends. May all beings everywhere be well.